So, I watched The Batman. Actually, I watched it twice. You might have seen my original video talking about this movie, in which I talk about the new Riddler costume and how it is terrible. And if you haven't seen that video, you might want to go watch that video before you watch this one, because we're going to be referencing a couple of things that I said in that video and a couple of comments I got on that video. As a lot of people may or may not have guessed, I do have some new opinions about the Riddler that I'm going to touch on. But I wanted to make this video talking about some pros and cons of the movie and things I really liked and things I didn't really like. And to help me with that, I created this. This is my pros and cons sheet. As you can see, there are way more pros on it than there are cons, but the cons has a sub-con category devoted to the Riddler and his pros and cons, because people were so interested. I say people, it was maybe like 2 people. Nobody actually cares about my opinion. There's going to be major spoilers in this video for The Batman, so if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want to get spoiled, maybe don't watch this, because I am going to be talking about so many spoiler things. I'm not going to be leaving anything out, and I'm sorry about that, but I kind of need to like make my video. Without further ado, let's get into my review of The Batman 2022, starring Robert Pattinson. I want to start with the pros. I'm a positive person. I want to start with the pros of this movie because I want to leave the Riddler stuff till the end because, you know, save the best for last, and that's what you're all here for. And what am I if not a showman? I want to start with the cinematography of this film. Mwah, chef's kiss. I loved it. I loved the cinematography. For a superhero movie, the cinematography was so well done and it didn't feel like a superhero movie. And what I mean by that is I think we've been plagued with Marvel movies for a very long time, and that's been the archetype of a superhero movie, and we all expect all superhero movies to be kind of like that, but this really felt like a real movie. I felt like I wasn't even watching like a superhero movie, which is good because I've kind of fallen out of love with Marvel in recent years. The music. Put the composer's name right there. Thank you. He did a really great job. I loved the music, and I know he's worked on some other movies as well that also had really great soundtracks. Robert Pattinson. Wow. Like most people, I did not expect him to be a good Batman. I feel like a lot of people were a little hesitant for him to be Bruce Wayne, and they're like, I don't think this guy can do it. But by God, did he do it, and he did it so well. Is he my new favorite Batman? Maybe. I'm still a Michael Keaton fanboy at heart. I love Michael Keaton's Batman still, but Robert Pattinson did such an amazing job. God, it was just such a unique Batman experience because he wasn't like this playboy rich guy trying to charm women. He was just this awkward like emo dude listening to Nirvana and wearing eyeliner, and I was like, that's my Batman. That right there's my Batman. I want to talk about Jim Gordon. I just loved his reaction to a lot of things and how like close he and Bruce were, and they're like buddy, and I thought it was like great. Let's talk about Penguin. A couple of people thought I was like dragging on Penguin in my last video, and I totally wasn't. I thought Penguin was great in this movie. I thought his design looked great, and I think just because I mentioned him in the video, people were like, how dare you insult Penguin? I was like, I actually wasn't insulting Penguin at all. I just was talking about how I'd seen worse designs for Penguins and better designs. And also, I want to admit, Danny DeVito was great as Penguin, and I didn't mean that he was like the worst Penguin. I was just like, I don't know what I was going for with that. Disclosure. Disclaimer, I don't think Danny DeVito was a bad Penguin. I thought he was a great Penguin. That man ate a like fucking raw fish for the role. I can't disagree with that. It's Danny DeVito. I can't go against Danny DeVito. I mean, come on, man. I liked the Penguin. I thought it was a good character. I liked that he was funny and he made a couple of really good jokes. I laughed at his jokes. I laughed at his Spanish jokes. Next, we gotta talk about the humor. Speaking of Penguin, I laughed many a times while the theater was dead, and I think I wasn't meant to laugh at some of these parts, but I was laughing because it was so goddamn ridiculous. Like literally the inner like monologue that Bruce was doing at the beginning where he's like, I am the darkness. I was like fucking laughing my ass off. He's like writing in his little journal. He's like, Dear Diary, today I listened to MCR and I cried. I am the darkness, I am the shadow. I'm like, okay, man. But there was like really subtle humor in this movie, and I think most people are used to seeing these Marvel movies, and that's like the archetype for a superhero movie, and you go into every superhero movie thinking it's going to be like a Marvel movie, and then when it's not, you go, what the fuck was this movie? And I think Marvel has ruined the superhero movie industry, and that's like a whole nother video for a whole nother day. It didn't need to be funny. It was kind of a dark noir telling of Batman that still had its humor in places that were very small. Okay, the last pro I have on my list says legacy, but I think that's not the word I was looking for, but I'm gonna use it anyway. Maybe I'm looking for the word potential. The potential that this movie has to keep going, because I know there's more movies being planned. I think how it was set up at the end, it does really have the potential to go on and on. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I think Robin does have the potential to be updated. I think we need to stop being afraid of bringing Robin back into the silver screen. Obviously, I'm a big Robin fan. I'm a big Dick Grayson Robin fan. God, I want it so bad, because the last time we got like a live action young Robin was like the 60s. Alright, it's time to go to the cons of this movie, and there's actually only 3 cons on this list, not including my little Riddler sub-genre list. Let's start with the Selena Kyle Falcone story. Wasn't a big fan of Falcone being Selena's dad. I felt like it kind of didn't need to be there. I thought that maybe the fact that he killed her friend was enough. A couple of the storyline things that happened in here between the characters I wasn't a big fan of. Like, I got it, but I was like, I didn't really like that. And that was one of them. I didn't really like it. I thought it was kind of weird to connect them like that. It was definitely something you wouldn't have expected. And I know they did give that little like hint that they knew each other. This one is an interesting one on my list, and it has a question mark next to it because I'm not sure how I feel about it. And it says propaganda. How do I approach this lightly? First and foremost, ACAB. I'm trying to tread lightly on this subject because people will get mad. There was a bit of propaganda in this Batman movie, and I feel the newer the Batman movie and like storytelling gets, the more pro-cop it gets, if that makes sense. In the 60s Batman, every episode starts with Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara going, we can't possibly do our jobs and solve this case. We need Batman and Robin. And it's very funny that the police are always so incompetent while dealing with basically every crime in Gotham, that they need the guy dressed as a bat and the child dressed in bright red and green and yellow to solve all their crimes. But as time goes on in Batman and how he is presented on the screen, I think there gets more and more like pro-cop stuff. Someone tweeted something that made a lot of sense. The propaganda in this movie was more of a liberal idealization of propaganda, which is a couple good people in the police system can change it for the better, which is not true at all. The system is corrupt, and it always has been corrupt, and it always will be corrupt. No matter how many good cops there are out there, it's not going to change. And I think that ending one with Falcone, where he's like, I own the police, and you just see all the police officers standing outside, and Gordon's like, actually, you don't own all of us. And it's like, okay, keep the police in like Batman movies totally incompetent and like unable to do anything. It's so funny. It's here, the moment you've been waiting for. We're going to dive into the pros and cons of the Riddler in the subcategory, because I'm a psychopath. Let's start with the pros of the Riddler. There are a couple pros. There's 4 pros and 4 cons on my pros and cons Riddler list. So I'm not just gonna be shitting on the Riddler like I was last time. Paul Dano. I thought he was a very good Riddler. I thought the actor did a very good job. When he took off that terrible garbage mask, I was like, yeah, that guy's the Riddler. Look at that fucking loser. That's the Riddler. And I never doubted that the actor would do a good job, as a lot of people were speculating in the comments on my other video, and they're going, I can't believe you hate the actor. Never said I hated the actor. Always said I hated the costume. But Paul Dano did a really good job as Riddler. I quite enjoyed his performance. It was good. Next one is like it says goals. I kind of mean like motive. The entire thing he was doing where he was trying to like kill all the corrupt people in the Gotham government. I thought that was a good storyline. I quite enjoyed that storyline. And I thought it was a little better than plugging boxes into TVs and like taking people's credit card information. Jim Carrey, my beloved, but also what the fuck was that plot line? Next we have the humor. Every time the Riddler was on screen, I was laughing at him just because his costume looked ridiculous. And I'm really sorry, we're gonna talk about the costume again in a second, but it wasn't scary. It just looked weird with his glasses poking out, and he was like breathing heavily, and he looked like a fucking weirdo. He has over 500 followers, guys. That whole thing was hilarious to me, and I don't know if it was meant to be hilarious. Maybe it was, but the fact that Riddler was a Twitch streamer with only like 500 followers, and then the like video at the end where he's like, hey guys, thank you so much for all the likes and support and the subscribers. It really means a lot to me. Shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me? Fucking hilarious though. Okay, the last pro I have is the riddles. I thought they were really good and clever, and I liked the little cards, and I liked a lot of things about the riddles. I wasn't a big fan of the code, of the little ciphers, but luckily for it didn't play a big part in the story. It was only showed up about twice, and most of the time it was just riddles. So I was kind of okay with the cipher showing up. But for the most part, I'll touch on this in a minute. It was very reminiscent of Batman Forever and the Riddler making the little cutout pop-up cards for Bruce Wayne. I really liked that. It was kind of like a little nod to that movie, and I really appreciated that because I do unfortunately like that movie. Let's talk about the cons. Because of course you guys just want to hear all the negative things I have to say so that you can tell me that I'm wrong in the comments. The costume, I still don't like it. I'm sorry. I watched the movie fucking twice. 3-hour goddamn long movie. Hate the costume still. The jacket I didn't mind. I like the little jacket with I like the little question mark symbol he made. Goddamn, fuck that mask. I know you're going through the Zodiac thing, and it's like the Zodiac killer, Wes, and you just don't understand. Yes, I get it. It's dumb. I know he's trying to hide his identity because obviously, yeah, he's a supervillain and he doesn't want to get caught just yet. There's so many different mask options you could have chose from, and the glasses picking out and the whole thing, I hated it. I'm sorry. It was terrible. It was so bad. I'm sorry. I can't defend this mask. I can defend a lot of things about the Riddler in this new movie. I can even defend the jacket and the little new question mark symbol. I quite liked that. It felt a little too Zodiac for me, but I still liked it. Again, a lot of things felt a little too Zodiac for me, and I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. It just felt too Zodiac and like you're creating an entirely new villain. Let's not make up too much about the Riddler. Speaking of Zodiac, there are a couple things. I know there are little nods to the Zodiac, but there are so many little nods to the Zodiac that I went, stop. Again, like I said in my last video, if I wanted to watch a movie about the Zodiac Killer, I would go watch a movie about the Zodiac Killer. I'm here to watch a movie about Batman and Catwoman and the Riddler, not the Zodiac Killer. I just wasn't a big fan, and I know the whole point was to make the Riddler more modern and scary, but it also didn't work because you made him a goddamn Twitch streamer with only 500 followers, and that's not scary at all. It's fucking hilarious, and it's dumb, and he's a poor little meow meow, and you didn't... That's another thing I want to mention real quick, that a lot of people were saying to me that I'm an idiot for not liking this new Riddler because he's the new serious Riddler, and he's serious and scary. And he's not like all those other funny, goofy Riddlers in the past. But you're totally wrong. He's not a serious Riddler. He's a fucking freak. Nothing has changed besides making it more modern that he's pathetic. He's still so fucking pathetic. You can be like, oh, but he like kills people like that, and that's so gruesome. He's a fucking loser. I'm sorry to say this, but this isn't a serious Riddler like you think it is, because he's still fucking pathetic as all hell. And every Riddler is pathetic, and that's the point of the Riddler, that he's a pathetic little man. If you think that this is like the new hardcore, gritty, serious Riddler, you are a fucking idiot. The goddamn Riddler has the best name. If you don't know, in the comics, his name is Edward Enigma, or for sure, his name is Enigma. Get it? Got it? Good. It's fucking amazing. It's so smart. It's so intelligent. It's such a little nut, and I love that name with all my heart. His last name is Enigma in the movie. Why wasn't it Enigma? It was such a good name. Edward Enigma is like the greatest fictional name in the world, and you kind of ruined it, and that really upset me. You can't change his name like that, because then it feels like it's like an entirely new, different character. It's not even Edward Enigma. Like, it feels like it wasn't even Enigma. It feels like that wasn't even the guy. Okay, the last thing I have on this pros and cons list is the Riddler's backstory. I didn't hate that he was an orphan, okay? I don't hate orphans. Quote me on that. I don't hate orphans. The problem I have with this is that he like went for Bruce Wayne, and not really at first because like his dad did these corrupt things, and yeah, it was like the sin of the father, but he's like when you became an orphan, everyone like cared about you and nobody cared about us, and that's why you deserve to die. It's not even one of my bigger cons that I have with it. It was just kind of a weird plot line to take. Also, didn't appreciate that the Riddler wasn't like a science dude. He was like some fucking what did they say? He was like an accountant or something? What the fuck did he do? Did they say forensic accountant? I don't think that's a job. Look that up. Look that shit up. Is that a real thing? What the fuck is a forensic accountant? All in all, I gave the Batman 4 stars. There were a lot of pros I had to the movie, way more than the cons. I did have a lot of problems with the Riddler still, even after watching it twice, and I'm sorry, I can only go so far as to defend the jacket of his costume and not the mask still. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, maybe give it a like. And if you really enjoyed my content, maybe hit the subscribe button. I have a Patreon and it would be really amazing if you donated to the Patreon. So if you are interested in donating to my Patreon, there are 4 tiers and the first one is just $1 a month. That would be really awesome, and the link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't seen The Batman, why the fuck did you watch this video? But go watch it. And if you have seen The Batman, maybe tell me how you feel about The Batman. I love to read comments. I don't always reply to them, mostly because a lot of them are very hostile. See you next time. Bye-bye.